be here today to share a little of my story with you guys. Now, when they first told me that they wanted me to speak, I wrote this like 8-page long biography, and they said, well, see, they don't lose interest, in boredom, maybe cut it down a little bit. So here's the revised, shorter version. I think it still gets the point across, though. My story starts when I was 20 years old. That's how old I was when I got married. I was too young and ill-prepared to marry. At least looking back now, I can say that. Back then, I thought I knew everything. I had found a woman that I loved, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. So September 5th, 2007, I was married. It was a rough marriage, to say the least, but I loved my wife and my daughter, and through all the arguing and problems, I still always imagined me and my wife growing old together. But after 6 years, in 2013, we separated and were headed for divorce. I didn't know to handle this. And it was at this point that my life really took a turn for the worse. I didn't want to deal with life anymore. I didn't want to face the reality that I was getting a divorce. I felt like such a failure as a man, a husband, and a father. Instead of trying to face these feelings, I ran from them. I turned to drugs and alcohol to try to numb my pain and take away my cares. And just like that, within a matter of months, I went from having a home, 2 cars, a wife and a daughter, to being homeless, living in my van with a meth addiction. This went on for about 1.5 years, until I thought I had had enough and I wanted to get clean. And I was able to find refuge at my mom's. I was able to get sober, get a job, and even get my own place. But I hadn't overcome my addiction. You see, overcoming a drug addiction is more than just getting sober. It's learning to deal with your emotions. It's figuring out the root cause of why you're turning to drugs, and then facing them, and then learning to forgive yourself. I didn't do that. I didn't even know how to do that at the time. And soon, all the past feelings of inadequacy, being a failure, and depression came flooding back. And once again, I found myself turning to drugs. Once again, I lost my job, I lost my house, I was homeless. I tried to go back to my mom's house, but this time I wasn't trying to get clean. I had no desire to get sober. You see, on top of all the past emotions of being a failure as a husband and a father, I was now dealing with the shame and failure of losing my sobriety and falling back into my addiction. I felt hopeless. I told myself, why even try to get sober if I'll just fail? So with me not wanting to help myself, my mom kicked me out of her house. I couldn't believe it at the time. It filled me with so much anger. I thought, how dare her kick me out? I'm her son. Not realizing that she was actually doing the best thing she could have done for me at that time by not enabling me in my addiction. So there I was with all the past thoughts of being a failure, but on top of that, a newfound anger at the world. And with that, I dove into my addiction harder than ever. I had not a care in the world, and I soon began to burn every bridge around until I had no one left that wanted to help me. I found myself living at Davis Park. I felt hopeless, struggling every day to find food to feed myself and shelters to escape the elements. This went on for about 1 year, during which I had not a care in the world. I had no thoughts of getting sober. That wasn't until October 3rd, 2016. That's the day I turned 30 years old. That was a landmark day in my life, sitting there in Davis Park, hungry and hopeless. I realized that time was passing me by, and I wasn't getting any younger. I was 30 years old with nothing to show for myself. And I realized that if I ever wanted to make something of my life, I had to start making a change now. So there I was, in my mind, ready to make a change, but I had nowhere to go. Like I said before, I had burned all my bridges. My mom didn't even want me at her house. So I did something that I hadn't done in a long time. I prayed. And believe it or not, God placed on my heart the Modesto Gospel Mission. Now, I had heard of the mission before, but all I really knew was that the mission provided shelter and food. And I thought to myself, that is a good start. So I had made my way over. When I first arrived at the mission, the feeling was amazing. To have a safe, warm place to sleep, a place to take a shower, and a full stomach, that alone was a godsend. I spent a few weeks using the emergency shelter So I started noticing that there were people at the mission that weren't just using the emergency shelter, but they were staying on property, working, and helping out. At first, I thought these guys were staff, but I learned quickly that they were part of the mission's New Life program. It's a rehabilitation program aimed at people who want to make a change in their life, to help them get out of the cycle of homelessness, drugs, and alcohol. When I heard this, I knew that this was the reason that God had sent me to the mission. When I first inquired about the New Life program, I was told that it was full, and they weren't accepting any new people at that time. And honestly, at hearing this, I became a little discouraged, and ended up bouncing back and forth between staying at the emergency shelter and going back to the streets. It wasn't until January 30th, 2017, that I was accepted into the New Life program, and that's a day that I will never forget. You see, my experience here at the New Life program has been life-changing. Unlike my previous attempt to overcome my addiction, the Gospel Mission not only provided me with a place to get sober, but they provided me with the tools necessary to deal with my emotions. Through accountability classes and evaluations, I was able to identify the root cause of my addiction and learn to combat them. In the first 30 days of the program, which is a blackout period, meaning you have no outside contact, I was able to spend a lot of time reading my Bible, praying, and building a relationship with God. Through daily Bible studies, I learned how to forgive myself for my past transgressions, because Christ had sacrificed himself for me, and him himself already forgiven me. I was able to overcome my shame and regret by learning that these were simply tactics of the devil to try to keep someone down, but that through Christ there is no shame, only forgiveness. Also, not only has the mission helped me overcome my past, but it's prepared me for my future. It's reestablished in me a work ethic and a respect for authority. I've been provided life-building skills, and through finance classes, been taught to better handle my money. During my time at the mission, I've reestablished a relationship with my mother and my daughter, and I look forward to building those relationships further. Through the mission's internship program, called the Rescue Program, I was able to learn the workings that go into running the mission on a daily basis. I was blessed to be able to spend 8 months working at the youth center, building relationships, and using my testimony to connect with the less fortunate youth in our community, and hopefully show them that there is hope and a better path than drugs in the streets. As my internship at the mission came to an end, I was blessed and fortunate enough to find employment at the mission, and I am currently working as an administrative assistant in the front office. Now, to bring my story to an end here, I didn't write anything down. I wanted to try to speak it from the heart, but now that I'm up here, I kind of wish I wrote something down. I do have something that I feel I need to say, and I want to say, and I don't know why, but I have a feeling that a lot of people, when they look at the demographic or the group of people that use the mission, they see bad people. They see lowlifes. The term we'll use a lot is bums. But it's not all bad people that come to the mission. I mean, at least in my case, I like to think that I'm not a bad guy. I just made some bad choices in life and got in some bad situations and needed to help out. And the mission was that helping hand. Now they say today's theme is a day without the mission, or what if the mission wasn't there? That's something, honestly, that I don't like to think about. Because for me, this mission has been a godsend. And on the path that I was heading, if it was not for this mission, I was headed to prison or the grave. But God put the Modesto Gospel Mission in my path. And through the Modesto Gospel Mission, it's restored my life, and I have a hope in the future. And I want to thank every single one of you guys here today. Whether you're a donor of money, resources, or time, it's because of people like you that the mission exists today and is able to impact so many lives. And I look forward to doing my little part in front office to help change future lives.